Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Jack Mitchell and welcome to another edition of Entrepreneur's Corner. You know, every once in a while you meet someone who is really a genuine person that you like right away. But then when you meet this person and he has this terrific new business concept, at least it was new to me, and you say, wow, that's really exciting. Well, I wanted to share this gentleman and his business with you because I think that he's really going to add a tremendous value to us here on the Treasure Coast. And I think that's important for us here on Entrepreneur's Corner. We want to really showcase people who make a difference in our community. And this gentleman has already made a significant impact here in the West Coast, in the Treasure Coast. But I think that with this new business of his, it's going to be even more exciting. So I want you to meet a new friend of mine, Tim Arthur. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here.
I appreciate being
Good
here.
deal. Tim, let's just give the folks a little bit of your background from your corporate life, what you did there, and then how you transitioned into getting to the film. Well, I don't want to give away all your thunder, so we'll keep that a secret.
Right.
But kind of the transition, okay?
I have always been a photographer and a videographer, but in the middle of my life, I had to get a job because the videographers don't make a lot of money. But I did work for some really great corporate companies for over 35 years, doing large-scale project management for large-scale software implementations. And in the process, I didn't realize it, but God was giving me some coaching skills. He was giving me the ability to work with people that really didn't want help. And when you're talking about filming somebody behind a camera, nobody's comfortable behind a camera. I mean, even professional actors fake it, right? So I kind of walked into this during, quote, retirement, because I just can't sit still. I've got to continue to add value. A lot of people say, well, you know, when you retire, you get to play golf, and yeah, but you know, you don't want to stop adding value. You don't want your gifts to just go away.
Yeah.
And so I had a friend, he's a doctor, he's a real good friend, and he was getting married right when COVID was starting.
Okay.
And I said, hey, who's your wedding photographer? Because I was nosy. And he said, I don't have one. And I said, well, yes, you do. So I did his wedding, and
Now, had you done this before? Or was this
I've done weddings and real estate and pet photography, all kinds of things over the past 40 years.
Okay.
And he said, Tim, you should go professional. And I thought he was being very nice. But you know, COVID hit. I had time to reflect. And so it was a great opportunity, actually, to put together my own small business. I had started a nonprofit. I had worked for some small businesses before, so I understood the challenges. But I did not know that I would be competing with about 14 million wedding photographers, real estate photographers.
And all of them live on the Treasure Coast.
Oh, it's crazy. And I'm like, well, you know, I could compete. I'm a competitor, right? But back to, I've got a couple business degrees as well, and we know that we have to differentiate.
That's correct.
We have got to diversify and stand out in the crowd. And that's a tough thought when you're with a lot of veteran professional videographers and photographers. And I remember doing something with some of my father's brothers and sisters, videotaping them telling some stories. And they had told these stories around the table and at different reunions, and they were classic. And I started to write these down. I got into genealogy for a while, and I was like, that was the most boring thing you could think of. But I got into that, and I realized there's value in preserving these stories. And not just written stories, but capturing their laughs, their smirks, their quirks, and also picking out their values and their traditions. And so during this, you know, realization about what I wanted to do with my small business, I realized, well, legacy videos is the ticket. I just happen to be surrounded by a lot of clients who are up in years here in South Florida, and I love that environment. People warned me, I have to say, you're moving to Florida, it's a bunch of old people. And you know what? There is a lot of character and color in people that are older, and I have worked with some amazing people. And so getting to talk to their adult children and saying, wouldn't this be a great gift or a great legacy for your kids and their kids to hear these stories and to hear these things that people basically have forgotten about.
So is your target audience the children and the family and friends of someone, or is it the person themselves?
It's a family project. It's kind of like planning a wedding.
Okay, how's that?
You don't go to Amazon and pick out your wedding dress and your wedding ring and say, ship it tomorrow, I'm going to get married in 2 days. You think it through. You involve people. You have changes of heart and changes of mind, and it's very much of a journey. And the same is true for this. I bring the coaching to the table. I present a conversation guide, which is kind of proprietary. Anybody could make one.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes it unique is it doesn't feel like a script. It really feels like a conversation. And that fear I talked about with people behind the camera freezing up, they drop that in 30 seconds because they realize I'm just going to talk, I purposefully tell the adult children, please don't show them this guide. It'll freak them out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want any rehearsals. I don't want any memorized answers. Just be yourself. And obviously they go down rabbit trails and different paths, and it's a beautiful, beautiful experience. Usually takes an hour to 2, and it usually takes me a couple of weeks at least to do that post-process editing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing digital editing for 15 years, so right now I'm using some very high-end Apple products, and they just do a great job.
Wow. So do you go to their home? Do you go to your studio, or how does that work?
Well, it really goes back to the negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
What is it they want? I don't mind traveling with my mobile studio. It's a little harder to get it just right because of background noise, ambient light, things you don't think about. Your brain is super powerful, but cameras are just machines. And so they'll pick up imperfections. I do have a studio that we use here in Port St. Lucie. It's fantastic. And all those things can be controlled, so we can meet here in the brick and mortar studio as well.
Mm-hmm. So you have that flexibility
Right.
of serving the client. So it's called Legacy.
Our Legacy Archives.com. My parent business is filmsbytim.com, and you can go to that site and it'll link to Our Legacy Archives. But it's meant to be a living journal for a family. What I want to do is sell at a very meager price, a subscription, which basically gives them half off for future years. So they're encouraged to plug in and bring the grandkids into the scene and bring some other siblings into the scene. And I can tell you, from doing genealogy, doing DNA tests, and all of these things,
Mm-hmm.
this is by far more interesting and memorable and fun to do.
Well, I know that I only knew one of my grandparents, my paternal grandmother, but I didn't know my maternal grandmother or either of my grandfathers. And I would love to have a legacy that I could look at these people and hear their story, because I don't know anything about their backgrounds. And my folks are dead, and most of my uncles and aunts have passed as well. So we don't have the history,
Mm-hmm.
but to capture it in the way you're doing it, Tim.
We're at a point in our era of technology where this is possible for anybody. It's priced at a good price point. It's not as expensive as a wedding. I've talked to some of my national colleagues or competitors. I'm way below their price. We follow generally the same workflow. But what you used to be able to see on NPR or
Yep.
Discovery Channel
Mhm.
about famous people is available now. And that includes bringing in photos, overlaying some vintage videos, titles, soundtracks. All of these things truly make it cinema quality.
Yeah, that's amazing, and it could be someone's loved one. No, it's not just for a senior citizen.
No.
It can also be for life's events.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm talking to some people about attending a family reunion, and I want to get a room off to the side and kind of bring them, the clans, if you will,
Uh-huh.
one by one, and get some fun stories and then bring them together. But there's all kinds of applications. There is an application I'm trying to do for someone in my family and I can't say who, but the person has passed away.
Okay.
And another person is missing this person. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I want the surviving siblings to bring back some stories about the person who's gone
Yeah.
as a gift for the widow. Think she'll cry?
Oh,
You know?
I'm almost
Right.
crying now
I know,
just
it's-
thinking about the emotional.
Yeah, and why not? Why not? We have this capability, and it's, if we go to business networking where we met,
Yep.
fortunately, every time I talk to somebody, I get a different idea. I'm like, geez, this is great.
Yeah.
So I think God's got me on a mission right now, and it's not about the money, although it's expensive to run a business. Just trust me, it is, okay? And on a mission to get as many stories told as I can. I've got all kinds of ways, going back to my corporate thinking cap, on how I could diversify and branch out and farm out some things and still not lose quality. But I believe that for the Treasure Coast, we could make a big impact. If you're not on the Treasure Coast, I still want to talk to you, because with Zoom technology, we can do this as well.
Yeah.
I have networks to videographers around the country, if not the world. We can bring it in and hire for you. There's lots of creative options if you're not local to Treasure Coast. But I do want to talk you through the process and encourage you to take these steps that are way beyond doing it on your
Yeah,
mobile
because
phone.
why
Yeah.
can't I do? I could do it on my mobile phone.
You could, and that's not bad, but it's not professional.
Yeah.
It's not something that you'd be bragging about to your kids. Hey, watch this.
Yeah.
They're going to tune out. Unfortunately, if the quality's not there, they tune out.
Yeah. And that's really. Can you just explain just a little more of the various life events that you're thinking of that you could capture for a person or a family?
Gosh, it could be an anniversary. It could
Yep.
be a 50th wedding anniversary, a big birthday coming up. It could be, a brand new marriage,
Yeah.
right? We want to celebrate and talk why we're so crazy in love, Why wouldn't that be great 40 years later,
Yeah.
Could be the birth or the emergence of a new family. It could be a new business. I've sent letters to some of
That's
the local,
interesting, yeah.
some local churches saying, I would love to do sort of a panel interview of the elders in your church, telling the story as best they can remember how this church came to exist. And that would be a great piece. I've talked with a couple of museums. So anyway, where there's history, we want to retain it. And the reason is because, excuse me, I get so passionate about this, but I really believe this is the case. In our society, in America, in Western society, I think we tend to put more value on younger, quicker, shinier, flashier things.
Mm-hmm.
And older, more traditional, more conservative, we tend to want to dismiss or diminish. And unfortunately, especially people who have lived a long life, they're told, okay, thank you, don't talk anymore. We're not that direct,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
But when you ask them to tell us their story, they talk. And they're truthful and they're authentic and they share. And they bring out values that influenced us, influenced our society.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want those to be lost. And I don't want them just to be in a textbook either. I want them to be told.
Yeah, this is live.
Yeah.
This is real.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. From a entrepreneur's point of view, going from corporate life that you did for some 35 years to now being an independent entrepreneur,
Right.
how's that transition, and what are some of the challenges you face, some of the pros and cons of being an entrepreneur?
There's a story that I heard basketball player Michael Jordan say that when he was doing golf, it was inordinately more difficult than in his championship basketball years. And they said, why? He says, I don't have a team around me. When I'm doing golf, it is me and all about me, and there's nobody to lean on.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
In corporate America, I got to lean on 1,000 different people for 1,000 different things. But I did have, again, I think it was God's design, a job that it required me to be very entrepreneurial, very innovative in how I worked through crisis and projects and
Mm-hmm.
politics and process mania and all of that. I had to think differently than the corporate culture.
Yep. You're really a
And
problem
so-
solver.
And so I've always been a creative, if you will,
Mhm.
even if placed in a corporate world. I almost went crazy because I'm a creative type.
Mm-hmm.
And, I like art, I love music, but most of all, I enjoy just using my gifts to bring love and light into the homes of people with beautiful photography or videography.
Yeah. The transition, what have you learned about, and maybe some ideas that you could share with the audience as to if they're thinking about getting into whether it's some kind of their own business, what kind of advice would you give? Because you're fresh into doing this, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you have some really positive things and some challenging things that you have to deal with.
That's a really good question. Well, I've been doing the photography and video forever,
Yeah.
but I think that you can't assume you're just going to start. I'm not a painter, but let's say I wanted to paint. That's not a good place for me to start. You need to start from your area of competence,
Yep.
where you will
Yep.
stand out. You can then wrap around that some business infrastructure. Start without a business first. Do it for free. Do it in lots of creative ways to get your name out there. Do business networking, but not pointlessly. Meet with people that you think could provide value back to you and you to them. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
Ultimately, though, you need to make a decision. Are you going to incorporate or not? And when you do, then you have extra overhead that you've got to deal with and plan accordingly. Fortunately, because I come from an administrative management background, I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I have to be careful not to let that dominate because I want to spend my time with clients. Yeah,
Excellent.
it's being an entrepreneur is a blast, but it is not easy. And you can read any book, you can watch anybody on Shark Tank or whoever it is, and they are putting it on the line. They are investing personal money, personal time, personal reputation, and it's not always pretty. But they see the greater good. They have the vision for where they want to be in 5, in my case, 10 years. I would love to be doing this in 10 years. I would love to look back on the hundreds of families, if not more, maybe thousands, that I was able to help.
Yeah.
That long survived me, right? That really thrills me.
I mean, that's really leaving your own legacy.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
you're leaving your legacy through the legacies of hopefully thousands of people that
Yeah.
you will have captured.
Yeah,
The
but
beauty.
an entrepreneur has to have that drive, that vision to know they're going to succeed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it can be rugged at first to get the clients and so forth, especially
Right.
you got to pay your bills and so on.
Yeah.
And so there's that challenge there. But having that long-term vision and the passion,
Right.
there's a number of things. Passion is, I think, very important.
Yeah.
As part of the formula.
And I think I learned one more thing from corporate America. You didn't really have to be likable. It was better if you were. It was better if you were, but you didn't have to be.
Yeah.
You had to show up and do your job and get the project done. That's what mattered, right? But the more likable you were, the better you did in corporate America. On the entrepreneur side, it's not optional. You better be likable. You better be referable. You better genuinely.
Good point.
You better genuinely love people. If you don't start. Don't start.
Even though you have great technical skills.
Right. Yeah. It's everything we do is about people. Right. Everything's coming and going. Tech comes and goes. Yeah. All this stuff comes and goes, but people don't. And when you see their heart, and there's this great saying: people don't know how much you know until they see how much you care. That's absolutely true. And so I might talk to somebody or a prospective client. I might on my inside get all giddy. Oh yay! But they don't. That's okay. I still value their insights and their decisions, and I learn from it. We move on.
I told you it was pretty special, didn't I? Huh? That last point about, but it has to be genuine. The caring for people, because people can read through if you're a phony, but if you're really genuine, as this gentleman definitely is, and comes across to the very fiber of his DNA. I think that's what a wonderful insight you just shared, Tim, that you can have all the technical skills in the world, but as an entrepreneur, you're not going to be successful unless you can genuinely emote that kind of care. I'm going to use the L word, if I may, love of your clients and the people with whom may not even be your clients, that at this stage don't have a need or can't afford or whatever the case is. You've got to be genuinely loving people, whether they become your client or not. And you tie up that love, that care,
Yeah.
with the technical skill, and you get a winning combination.
Yeah, and it's not that I'm touchy-feely. Look, I'm 6'2". I'm at the gym all the time, right? But my best friend is Jesus, and time after time, he just shows by example.
Yeah.
So that's my model. Boom, that's it.
Doesn't get
Yeah.
any better than that, my friend. Nothing beats that. Listen, thank you so much for sharing it.
Thank you.
The audience, I'm sure, got a tremendous amount out of your insights, your journey, if you would, as to going from the corporate life into films by Tim, and now continuing films by Tim, but now specializing in our
Legacies
legacies,
archives.
our legacy archives.
Right.
Yeah, why archives?
Now we're going way down the road with my vision, but in short, I want to have a subscription model where people continue to contribute, and also I can guarantee storage of the media. Maybe down the road they'll send me some footage from their video camera or their camera that it's not really, quote, I'm filming, but I'm storing, and then we can integrate it somehow later.
Brilliant.
These are little diamonds and gems out there, and I don't want to lose any of them. But right now we're focusing on the direct filming.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Friends, thank you very much for watching this edition of Entrepreneur's Corner. And thank you very much. Tim Arthur is this gentleman, and he really is, he's the real McCoy. Look at his information. If you have a loved one that you want to kind of share that person's story, contact him. You're going to get treated real fairly by a truly good man in every way. Tim Arthur, Our Legacy Archives. Tim, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your time.
See you next time at Entrepreneur's Corner.
You have been listening to and watching Entrepreneur's Corner, a talk show that interviews entrepreneurs of the Treasure Coast and gets valuable insight to the secrets of their success and the story of their business. Sponsored by TCoast Studios. Visit TCoastStudios.com.